Hey, football fans, welcome back to the CADS podcast. I'm your host, Stuart Woodrow, and today we're diving it deep into last night's clash between Tottenham and Manchester City. The Lily Whites picked up a crucial point, ending fears of a fourth consecutive loss. Have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed that game, and I can't wait to hear the thoughts of my fellow CADS on the tactics, standout moments, and the players who stepped up. If you're a football fanatic or just love the sport, hit that like button, subscribe for more engaging content, and become part of the CADS community. Let's get into it. All right, so I've got a few talking points down, but as always, we can dip into other things if anybody else wants to talk about it. I would like to start with the early goal. How did we feel that went? I thought a really nice bit of movement and touch from Gil, a great pass out, and then was it a good finish or was it poor goalkeeping? I'm not sure which. I'm kind of 50-50. I'm on the fence on that one.
At least if you hit the target, you've got a chance of it going in. So
yeah. Well, apparently, if you hit it right at the goalkeeper, you've got a chance of it going as well.
Yeah.
So,
I also thought Doku was pretty poor for that, really passive. But great to see Son at last, just first of all being on side, and second of all, really sort of taking control of the situation and pushing through. It was really great. It was the Son of old. It's like this season playing in that number 9 position. He's been sort of getting quite a lot of poachers goals, but we haven't seen a lot of those goals where it's Sonny's power and pace like we used to see.
It.
Yeah, so that was great.
Well, one of the goals against Villa was one of the offside goals.
Oh yeah,
against Villa was a nice one as well. So
yeah,
maybe he's getting that back into his game. Let's hope.
My take on it was great play by Heel, and then by Kulusevski, who was my man in the match, was fantastic, wonderful. But then. It was great, David, what you're saying about Sonny hopefully getting his pace back and whatever. But I think that Doku was fast. He just mistimed it. And Sonny, being the clever footballer that he actually is, he timed it because he just went right around him. I'm going, holy jeez, you know. Yeah. So a combination of speed and I think Sonny's football intelligence, you know. And then back to what Stu said, I think it was a combination of the shot and somewhat erroneous goaltending, and it worked for us. Great.
I thought Sonny's header to put the ball into his line was absolutely first rate.
It was great.
He was really committed to it, and from there, it always looked like he was going to score, even if the keeper should have done better.
I thought it was quite interesting last night. We really used our pace at times to attack the wide areas like we did there, and almost physically bustled our way past players who sometimes they had no real right to do so. There was one point Brennan Johnson just went right past Gvardiol. Yeah, how did he do that? Gvardiol's a really good player and he's big and strong, and Brennan Johnson made him look like a mug. It was great.
I think we've got a gem in Brennan Johnson. I've been watching him for about 2 years. I was watching him at Notts Forest. And his pace and control is really, really good. And I think we're really going to see a very good player, assuming his finishing improves up to the rate of his delivery and pace.
Yeah, and Oz, he's from there.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
And I suppose I'm going to eat quite a lot of humble pie tonight during this podcast. But I completely agree. When we signed him, it was like, well, is this just like another bit part player that we're paying a lot of money for? He's not ready and things. And I think he's really shown up so far. You know, he's not at his ceiling yet either. So I think it's quite exciting. Quite excited about him.
He's doing what I thought Jack Clark was going to do when we signed him, but we didn't give Jack Clark a chance, and he's doing it with Sunderland now. So
yeah, he's like one of the second top scorer in the championship. You know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Jack Clark just had a string of injuries. He came in and never really got fit, and then started going out on loan and never really impressed there. I think it's only since he's gone to Sunderland. He went to Sunderland on loan initially, did well, and has got picked up full time, and has gone on to do well. But I think it's because he was given a string of games and a chance to play himself into form.
Yeah, but we did have, I don't want to be banging on it, but we had 3 managers in a row that just didn't want to play football.
Yeah.
Didn't want to play with the ball. And Jack Clark's the sort of player that needs an attacking sort of possession-based football to thrive, really.
He'd probably be getting minutes now if he was at the club.
Yeah, he would.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
I remember seeing
sure
him when he was about 16 at Leeds, and he looked like a young Chris Waddle. He was really, really impressive in for 1 year, the year before we signed him. But anyway, gone history. Brendan Johnson's a good player.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's Welsh.
Yeah. And I think he is going to score a lot. I mean, was it against Aston Villa where he so nearly scored? It was a really good save against him. The ball came to him really fast. He controlled it and got a shot away in absolutely no time at all. I was really impressed by that. It's not just pace. I think he's got something about him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the pace definitely works. It's a really good start. And then you tack on some actual ability and technical skill in there as well. And apparently, from what I can see, a good football brain. Because that first goal he was involved in when he came in, you don't do that if you're a bit of a dummy on the pitch. You've got to have some smarts about you to do it. So very nice.
And that was a good cross right at the end for Decky.
Oh, what a cross! Yeah.
And
that was from his weaker side as well, because he's right-footed. So that was from the left. So very nice.
And also going back to what Stu said, he actually skinned Walker on that as well. In the 90th minute with speed. So that you cannot account for speed. He does have it. Add in crossing ability, 2-footed crossing ability, hopefully, and some goal scoring. It's going to be terrific.
Yeah. So Son got an early goal, and then Son unfortunately got a second early goal. There was something like 1 minute 27 seconds or something between the two, and I need the second player, I think, in Premier League history to score both of the opening goals, but for 2 different sides. The last one was Gareth Barry when he played for Villa, I think. Yeah, against Everton, I think, a very, very long time ago. So, anybody else really feel for him at that moment, because he looked gutted?
Yeah, was there anything wrong? I don't know. In the way we were marking or anything like that, I don't really know. It was sad.
It was a really, really good free kick.
Yeah,
he put it right. I mean, for a lot of what we say, and that's why I say I'm going to eat some humble pie tonight. For a lot of what we have to say is, like, despite the fact they're a bunch of fucking cheats financially, Manchester City have put together an unbelievably good team. And anything that we say has to be in the context of we're playing probably the strongest team in Europe, or one of the 2 or 3 strongest teams in Europe. That free kick, he put it right into the danger zone. If Son hadn't bounced off Son's knee or whatever it bounced off, there's every chance somebody else would have been in behind to score it anyway. So I don't know. You can always find something to criticize, but sometimes you have to say that was just a really great free kick.
Good point.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think the only thing that the pundits picked up on was if they dropped a little bit deeper, then they would have been coming out towards the free kick instead of going back towards the goal, which is how it deflected into the goal. But my thoughts are, well, if you drop back a couple of yards, then he would have put the ball in a different place, and it still could have ended up with exactly the same situation.
So, I don't think there's any top-level team that plays the way you're suggesting they should have, or the pundits are suggesting they should have. Everybody tries to hold the line, hoping to bag somebody offside.
Yeah.
Nobody sort of. They would have to be on the goal line and running out to do anything like that. So that just wouldn't help. I mean, it was a great free kick put into a really dangerous position, and we had 2 makeshift centre halves.
Yes.
So
hopefully it will be the last time we have to say that for a while.
Yeah.
We'll just say 1 makeshift centre half for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should I bring up my thing about Davis now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
He was Welsh.
Is he Welsh? Ben Davis. That's not. Is that a Welsh name?
Yeah, he's actually from Cardiff, which is where I went to school. But anyway, he takes a lot of flack one of the guys, I forget his name, John something. I don't see him on there anymore. Would call him backwards passing band, BPB. He plays any position that the manager puts him in without complaining. He has played left back. He has played left on a back three. He's now playing center back. Never complains. He's captain of Wales. He's a real professional, and I think he takes undue flack. I think part of it is the fact that he is Welsh. I hate to say that, but I think part of it is. But in yesterday's game, he isn't perfect. Let's face it. He is a squad player, and if we had our centre backs, he's not starting. And your dog, he's not starting. But he's a terrific professional. And yesterday's game, he made that play that set up the second goal. He actually, just before that, he also intercepted a ball, but nothing happened. But when he intercepted the header, he actually beat Haaland to the header and got the header up to Sonny, who set up Lo Celso. I think he takes a lot of flack, and I'm so glad he's part of our team, and I'm proud of his professionalism and what he gives. And I'm sure you guys probably agree with that,
I don't think it's anything to do with him being Welsh.
Yeah,
no, he's a very, very good player. I don't think any criticism comes down to him being Welsh. I think it's more the kind of criticism you get when a player is talented enough to play in multiple positions but never really pulls down one of their own. Then you get a lot of players like that who start to get some criticism. Because is he good enough to be our starting left back? Currently, no, he's not going to get ahead of a doggy. Is he good enough to be our starting centre back? Well, no. Not without injuries. He's played left midfield for us as well under, I think it was Mourinho. He played left midfield for us. So he's played a range of positions,
including inverted fullback as well. But that's what I just said about him. He's not a starter, but he's just a professional, and we need guys like him. He's like Højbjerg, which is my other thing, but I'll let you guys talk about Højbjerg. Is also like that as well. Not necessarily great at any. Højbjerg played center half when we went down the 9-man. Then he has played number 6. He's played number 8. The guy would play any position and run through a brick wall for us. And he's not great, but he is as a professional. And I'm also, like Davies, I'm glad he's in our squad.
Oh, I think Davis is really good. I think he did well. I mean, he was probably at fault for the second goal, but again,
I was going to say,
I don't think you can take too much on board. You're playing against one of the best teams in the world. You're a makeshift defender. You make a mistake. And I do feel like Davis. I don't agree with you that it's because he's Welsh, but I do think that Davis is one of those players that, it will always be his fault. He's just a whipping boy, and it's completely unfair. And I must admit, I thought he did really well yesterday, apart from that second goal. And I noticed both those Romero-esque challenges going out and really imposing himself, and one of them led to the goal. Yeah.
By the way, just sorry for interrupting. I've listened to a couple of other podcasts about that second goal, and he had to go after Alvarez, and it was actually Royale and Udogie who weren't covering. He had to go. If he hadn't gone after Alvarez, he would have been on his own. He might have taken the shot. I think he went to cover that fellow, and then the other guys didn't see it coming or whatever. And I've seen the replay. Alistair Gold said the same thing. Rob Guest said the same thing. Another fellow, when I was out on the commute today, I was listening to what their comments were on that. Anyway, my take is that it wasn't necessarily his fault on that. Great goal by Man City, but not necessarily his fault.
Yeah, I think that's it. It was a great goal by Man City. I thought I think it was a problem of communication, like we saw in the second Villa goal. The problem with communication. Davis was tracking the player, and Royale was playing an offside trap, and the two of them just didn't communicate properly. So blame.
And that's what happens when you've got a makeshift defence.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So blame to be apportioned, but let's also give some credit to Manchester City. Not many teams could pull apart a side like that the way they did. It was really good play, really good movement, and lovely finishing. So
first half was terrifying. I thought we were going to get a cricket score against us. It was, they were just all over us. We couldn't get any possession. We couldn't get up the pitch. As soon as we got the ball, we were giving it back. They're pressing us so hard. I thought they had 12 or 13 players on the pitch to our 11. They were really good first half against us, and we were really poor. Has to be said. But we really struggled to live with them. Going down 2-1 at half time, that was a real bonus. We were really lucky.
Absolutely.
But we needed a bit of luck. We were due a bit of luck, to be honest.
Missed a bit last few weeks.
What do we think? What do we think changed in the second half? Decky said that Ange was angry. Ange said he wasn't angry. I'm sure he was, and lit into them a bit. But apart from Højbjerg, maybe that was the main impetus for the change. But you were right, Dave. Things changed second half, and we were actually making passes. And
I thought that was a good substitution. I like Brian Hill. I think he's got a good technique, but he's a bit lightweight. And Højbjerg is never going to back out of a challenge. I think that was the difference. He added a bit of solidity and made sure that City couldn't bully us in the way that they had been.
Yeah, I just want to take that moment whilst we're on Brian Hill and the substitution. It was definitely the right substitution, and Højbjerg coming on definitely made a difference. In the match thread and after the match, I said that I think I've seen enough of Brian Hill to say he's not good enough for what we want to do. Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more of him, because I'm making that judgment again against Manchester City. He did some good stuff, and he was up against Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's a really good right back. He was much better when he was with us, but I mean, he is really, really good. He's a player. So I wouldn't mind seeing what he's like against sort of normal level teams, and see whether he can grow it. I think he's an option. So I said I've seen enough. Actually, I don't think I have.
So you'd start him on Wednesday against West Ham, Thursday against West Ham. Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah,
why not?
Okay.
Well, it's nice to take that back, Dave, because I do recall that comment you made. I'm yes, why not? I'm neither here nor there, but let's see what he can do against. He did, and Stu, you don't remember it. There was a play last year, because you said, yeah, and I agree. Conte's last games, where I don't know if he started, but he was on the right, and he did a reverse pass into Harry. Harry passed to him. It was a 1-2, and then a reverse pass into Harry in the box, and Harry scored on an angle. And it was absolutely beautiful. It was like a Spaniard's trick, I'm going, he's got that in his locker. Haven't seen it. Well, although the play he made yesterday was pretty damn good as well, So, yeah, he does have something.
And you're right for the first goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there was a turn for the first goal, but then equally there was a point where he was played through, and if he'd knocked it first time to Son, we'd have been in with another really good chance. And he took 2 extra touches, and everything just closed down.
Yeah,
I think that's been the problem with Hill at his time at Spurs. He just doesn't do stuff off the cuff quickly enough.
I agree with that. It's not because he's lightweight. He is a bit lightweight, but I think for me it's more when he gets into that final third and he's giving that last ball or taking that shot, he's not decisive. But I think that might come with a bit more game time.
Which could be confidence. Absolutely. Actually, right. It could be confidence.
Yeah. And I understand that by playing. So that's just how it is, Yeah.
No, maybe not start him against West Ham, but I think he remains an option. I wouldn't mind seeing more of him.
Yeah.
I think we should start him, because the other option is to start Højbjerg. And however well Højbjerg did in this, every time Højbjerg started a game this season, he's been absolutely terrible. When he comes on as a sub, he's generally good to very good. But when he starts, he's awful. His 2 starts this season, Fulham in the Cup and Aston Villa. And both of those games were awful. So,
also, Richarlison's an option now.
Well, yeah. I think Richarlison might not be fully fit. Just he had 5 minutes yesterday.
Yeah.
So he's about as much of an option as Jamie Donnelly is, I think. So.
Hey,
that was such good news.
He was there for the equalizer. He was there for the equalizer. So there you go. He was celebrating with Decky. What do we think of Decky?
Brilliant.
Man of the match.
Outstanding. Man of the match.
Yeah.
I think
Spurs
potentially
man of the
not
match
as
anyway.
influential as he was against Villa. I think he had more of an effect on the game against Villa, but he stepped up when he got an assist and a goal. So, you know, he had to have a good game. So,
He's an absolute giant of a player. I mean, you know, physically he's so imposing. He never stops. He's the Duracell bunny. He just keeps
he's
going
quick as
and
well.
going and going. He's got quick feet. I don't know whether he's actually quick, but
He's supposed to be the second fastest player at the club or something. So
really, once he gets
Yeah.
up to speed.
yeah, Van der Ven's the fastest, and
Okay.
Kulusevski's second fastest. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's a brilliant player. Superb.
23
We've done
on-
pretty well getting players from Juve over the last few years. So
What's his best position? In the number 10 there, or because he played both yesterday, and perhaps he'll continue to do that, play both positions. But
He says he's a number 10.
He says he's number 10.
he says he likes
But-
playing central. Yeah.
But then he scored the goal, the equalizer. He was literally way on the right wing, and he could see what Brennan was doing, and he ran 40 yards, right. He didn't even stop, right into that header or shoulder, as it might well have been. He had all that momentum, and the defender didn't. Anyway, so the question again is that better on the wing, better in the middle, what?
Well, we'll be a better team when Maddison's 10 and he's out on the right.
That's true.
You know,
But you know,
but he'll be a better player playing number 10, probably.
What about other players that have come in and made a difference recently? Oliver Skip.
The Samways has like really stepped up the last couple of
Who's that?
games.
who's that?
Lo Celso.
Yeah, he had a good game. I thought it's probably one of his best games since Mourinho days.
2 good games.
Yeah.
In a row.
2 goals in 2 games. So very nice. And seemed to be dictating the play a bit more. He had a 100% pass success rate from 40 passes, and the vast majority of his passes were forwards as well. So it was very, very good.
Højbjerg coming on let him get forwards a bit more.
Yeah, right. Pushed him into the more number 10 position.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's
I
got
don't know. Ash said
with a
he'd been
shot.
watching some videos and podcasts and stuff. If anybody's interested in the tactical side of it, there's a very, very good video by 442 on this game and how we managed to turn things around. And I thought that would be worth a watch for anyone who's actually interested in that side of things. I thought the big tactical switch for me in the second half was our fullbacks were generally playing more like fullbacks. They weren't bombing so far forwards. They weren't inverting quite as much. Certainly, Udogie was much more in that typical traditional left back position for much of the game.
Didn't notice that, but yeah, nice to mention it. By the way, little word for Porro, who found himself on his own against an incredibly good winger for a lot of the match, and I thought he did pretty well for somebody that's supposed to not be a right back. He's doing really well.
He's having a really good
Porro
season.
is playing better and better.
Yeah.
He's good on the ball, and he's much better without the ball as well than he was. And this timing of some of his challenges is absolutely first rate. I don't think I've seen him give away any fouls. I might be wrong, but I don't remember him giving
ferocious in those tackles. So if he gets it slightly wrong, he's going to break someone as he goes flying in sometimes. I mean, you love it. You love to see it, but at the same time,
Brings the Romero school of tackling.
We're a little bit more calm.
No,
yes.
I totally agree with you, Austin. I'm really delighted and surprised by how good he's been.
I think if you're going to list players, if you're going to list like the top 5 players of the season, he'd certainly be in the top 5. He might even be second. So
after whom? Maddison.
Yeah, I think Maddison first, maybe Son second, but it's really close. Porro after that.
How could you not have Kulu in those top 3?
Absolutely. And
also we're talking about signings.
Signings. Well, yeah.
No, just before us. By the way, Mattis is going to be out for a lot more games, so that's going to change because he's actually going to be missing. He's actually missed a third of the season already. You know, this will be his 5th game he's missing. So that's going to change. So Kulusevski or Sonny could be up at the top now, you know, or even Vicario up in that top 5 as well, you know.
Yeah, shouldn't underestimate Vicario, despite his little hiccup yesterday.
Yeah.
He made a
One.
blinding save to
Correct it. Yeah,
for
he needed to.
Yeah. He was bored, so he thought he'd give himself something to save.
Yeah, Hugo, unfortunately, would have made 5 or 6 of those errors, as we know, in terms of kicking it out right to the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
So we've definitely improved in that area, without this is a question about the fact that the announcers going, oh, why don't they just change it up a bit and hoof it out or do a long pass? Why do they persist on keeping it on the carpet? And Man City were playing man-to-man pressing and were doing in the first half. I think maybe they ran out of a bit of juice the second half. What do we think about that? Is he just going to keep persisting on doing that sort of tactic?
Yes.
I think it's somewhat short-sighted because they don't just play short passes all the time. There are passes which are longer passes, but they're passes with a meaning. They're passes that are actually effective. They're not hoofed. We don't hoof the ball anymore. We if we play a longer pass, it gets to a player and it actually makes a decent transition. You look at the first goal. That wasn't a short pass through to Sonny. That was a decent long ball.
That was slightly different.
Yeah. But there, we've seen balls like that, and there's been a few times this season where it's come. So Burnley game, there are a few longer balls. You're just taking advantage of the spaces are there. As the spaces open up, we attack the spaces. I think the Ange Ball philosophy, and the Ange Ball is a philosophy. It's not a tactic. It's not a style of play. It's a philosophy. The philosophy is you go out there, you impose yourself on the game, and you try and do what you can to be entertaining and exciting. Score goals, win games.
What I have noticed is that when the ball is played relatively short, the receiver in the previous days would have laid the ball off immediately. But both Udogie and Porro and Maddison, when he's been playing, and Bissouma will receive the ball and they'll turn away from players and beat them.
Yep.
Whereas under the previous management regimes, we weren't trying to beat players. We were passing it and trying to play it safe, which often wasn't safe at all. But now we're beating players on the turn, and so you cut players out and enable the ball to move forward much more quickly.
Yeah, we're trying to beat the press like in a pretty intelligent way. When it goes wrong, as it did with Bissouma for the third goal, it goes really, really wrong. But I hope they keep the courage to keep trying to do it. And I think it was also for our third. Was that for our third goal? It's just something I noticed. Bissouma, for all everybody says he's press proof, he wasn't very press proof yesterday. He didn't have his greatest game. Do you know who fiddled his way out of the press? Oliver Skipp.
Yeah.
It was a superb little sort of shift of the ball from one foot to the other. He lost about 3 players. It was, nobody's mentioned that. And I thought that was superb, And by the way, I also wonder, I don't know whether I'm reading too much into it, whether Ange didn't out-tactic Fraudiola. Because he took off Lo Celso, I think it was, and he brought on he put on Skipp. And I think that Fraudiola read that as we're settling for things.
Yeah.
And then he took off Bissouma and put on Richarlison. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way.
Yeah. So he kind of did it. He did an very attacking substitution in 2 moves, and I wonder whether that sort of kind of upset Fraudiola's thinking, because it made it look like we were shutting up at 2-2, but we didn't. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. So Skipp, initially was playing up in the sort of further forward right-hand number 8 position, wasn't he? And then he suddenly dropped back to replace Bissouma. That was interesting. And Skipp definitely beat the press at last.
He was definitely playing better than we've seen him at almost any other point this season. He's not had a great season so far, I think, Skipp.
Right. He's not number 8.
No. And
that's where he's being played.
He's got that potential, I think. I've said it before, I think he's a late bloomer. I think he's a player who'll come through when he's about 26, 27 years old and he'll be superb. But right now, he needs to play games, and I think potentially maybe even a loan away. Get signed up on a nice long contract, send him off to Everton for a season, and give him a full campaign.
Well, we can't send any midfielders away in January because
I can't afford. We haven't got the space.
two of them are leaving.
Yeah, he's going to get game time this season anyway, so don't think we need to loan him.
Yeah,
I think he's a better player there than we've seen so far. I think he's a very solid player. He's just not as naturally athletic as Sarr, but he also has a very good left foot, and he's a very, very hard worker, and he intercepts a lot of balls. He's an intelligent player.
He scored 2 goals in one of our friendly games. 2 goals in one of our games. Yeah. So he's got that in him, but maybe a similar type thing, confidence with him as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see him. I can't see him making it as a number. He's going to be a number 6, or like a box to box. Okay, he scored 2 goals in friendlies, but to be honest, every time he goes into the penalty box, I think he's going to get a nosebleed. He's not used to being that far up.
That's harsh.
He's going to get altitude sickness. No, it's just, but I think he's a good player for what he is, but not for that. And that's why he hasn't looked good.
Was Skip the one that got an elbow in the face from Haaland?
Yeah.
No, was it Skip? I thought it was Emerson.
I thought it was Skip. Somebody got an elbow in the face from Haaland.
Yeah.
So,
Haaland's
at the end of the day,
piece of work.
You're being sizist now. When you're 6'5" and you put yourself about a bit, people think you're being nasty. He's not. You're just being sizist. That's all.
It's Wayne Rooney in drag.
Yes.
That's a good.
No, he definitely led with his arm. I didn't think it was he wasn't raising the elbow to. I didn't think it was a red card as some people were saying. But I thought it was a yellow. It was definitely yellow because he was definitely leading with his arm, intending to hurt. Definitely intending to hurt. There was no need for it to be out there, but it should have been a yellow, I think.
Which would have meant he got sent off in the 95th minute when he remonstrated with the ref over that slightly fortuitous decision.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have liked him to get sent off because now I want him to go and score goals against our rivals.
Yes. What did we all think about that refereeing decision? I had a good piece earlier today where somebody said there was a very good chance that he had because they're all mic'd up. He got a little word in his ear from the linesman saying he's offside, and which is why he called it back. Because if Grealish had run through and got on the ball and then done something, then they would have had to call it out for offside, even though he wasn't offside. If the linesman had been correct, give the information that the referee had been given, if that had been correct, then they would have lost all advantage. So the referee thought he was doing them a favour by pulling it back to give them the ball again, which I think is the only reasonable explanation of why he did that. I can't think of any other reason.
A good one. It's a good one, actually. Yeah.
Made a mistake. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, if he had a word in his ear, it's not a mistake, is it?
And the bottom line is, Davis was on Grealish anyway, and Carrio's got a good record at 1-to-1. So there's nothing to say that Grealish would automatically have scored had he been allowed to run through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he would have tripped over his shin pads, his non-existent shin pads, and muffed it up.
No, I totally agree with you, Austin. It wasn't, just because they were in a good position didn't mean they didn't get denied a goal.
No.
They got denied a good opportunity, perhaps, but not a goal.
Yeah. I have to say, I thought, I'm not going to call him Folio, I thought Guardiola was actually quite good in the aftermatch comments. He was very complimentary towards Big Ange, spoke well of us, didn't really want to dwell on that refereeing decision too much. So,
I enjoyed his little swipe at Arteta.
Yes, so did I.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will not do a Mikel Arteta, yes. Which, considering they're supposed to be good friends, was quite a statement. So, yeah. How did everyone else? I came out of that game, I felt very, very pleased with the result. Feeling maybe slightly fortunate because they were on top, and if they'd taken some of their chances, they'd have put us away quite easily.
But you could say the same against us with Aston Villa. If we'd taken our chances, we'd have been out of sight. So,
and as I said earlier, I think there's an argument to be made that we were unlucky against Aston Villa. Just as well, I think Maybe Manchester City were a bit unlucky against us yesterday, but we will absolutely take it. We're due a bit of luck, due a little bit of the ball rolling in our direction. We'll take it, and we'll move on to the next one. But how does everyone else feel after that game?
Pumped.
Good answer.
I was buzzing after the game. I really was. And I have to say, I think we've got the best manager that we've had for many a year, because at half-time, we looked like we were going to get thumped. I expected us to get beaten 6-2. I thought we might score a couple, but I thought we might lose 6. And then at half-time, he changed things around. And the second half, I thought we were just as good as they were.
Yeah.
We scored a couple of good goals. And our performance was actually very, very good. We were tight.
We actually lost possession
he's
in the second
achieving
half.
Amazing things with, like, it's a really difficult situation. We're losing so many players, you know, and he's still got us playing really good football. Love it.
There are not many clubs that go to Manchester City and get 57% of possession in the second half, which is what we had. And there was apparently there was a 15-minute period where we had 75% of possession. In the second half. So that's the way we play now, and I love it. I love it.
Here's a question. Why do we have so many injuries? Is it just sheer misfortune? Is it something with our training, or what? Why do we have so many injuries?
Well, you look at the players who are injured. Sessegnon came into the season injured. He had an operation, so that's got nothing to do with the way we train. Who else? Maddison. Maddison has a history of picking up a couple of injuries this season, particularly some muscular issues, which he had while he was at Leicester, while he was at Aberdeen, while he was at Norwich. So that's not new for him either. Let's see, Manor Solomon. I don't know Manor Solomon's history, but you know, he's not exactly a major player for us anyway, so that's not a major issue.
I think Hamas of Novel Manor Solomon.
Sorry?
I say Hamas of Novel Manor Solomon. That's down to them completely.
Oh, let's not get into that.
There was a discussion about that on the Extra Inch podcast about whether Ange Ball and sort of the way the players have to be playing in such an intense and probably training incredibly intensely, whether that is leading to some muscle fatigue. But I don't see it, because when I look at Van der Ven's injury, I think that's to do with the hugely long VAR interruptions where he's cooling down and then trying to sprint.
Completely.
You know, Rodrigo Bentancur, he's been basically taken out by Matty Cash. So I just think we've just been really, really unlucky. I do think we need to look at these VAR interruptions, because I think it's a real problem. And also, I think, you know, playing for 100 odd minutes, you know, we're extending the amount of time. So that should be the same for everybody. But I think quite a lot of teams have quite a lot of injuries, actually. I mean, ours is particularly
been a big increase this season.
But there's a lot of injuries, and I'm pretty sure it's to do with VAR. I'm pretty sure it's to do with 105 minutes versus 90. You know, and you know, we're not also. I don't think we're being protected by referees. I think opposition teams have seen quite a lot of nasty tackles not being punished.
And about Spurs, you're talking about particularly, right?
Since the Liverpool
games, I think we've had quite a few games where there've been lots of challenges against our players that have gone unpunished. And
totally, Austin.
Yeah, we talked about this in one of the previous pods. There's, you know, people kicking balls away after free kicks, and they've not been getting yellow carded. There's been all kinds of things where, you know, Sterling taking an obvious dive during one of the during the Chelsea game, didn't get anything. Same one, Conor Gallagher kicked the ball away, got nothing. You know, yellow card offences being ignored, and you know, as Matt said and others have said in the past, Liverpool. It's the effect of the Liverpool game. So.
Yes, I do think there's a balancing out because of that Liverpool game. I think people are looking at it saying we got a lucky result then, and that we shouldn't get that many decisions
But I think you have to protect the integrity of the players, the physical integrity of the players. Even if you think you're evening things up, you can't let people, Matty Cash, he should have been off for that foul.
Yeah, should have been.
It should have been straight off. And he only did it because he knew he was going to get away with it.
And he wasn't just a little bit late. He was very late and very high.
He wasn't late. He was exactly on time
dangerous.
for what he was perfect. His timing was perfect for what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
I would say his tackle was at least as dangerous as Romero's was. We got him sent off. So
but Romero got the ball.
Yeah.
And a lot of the player afterwards. But yeah.
Oh, of course, yes. But Romero did get the ball first.
What have we learned about the players that have come in during Romero's suspension, Van der Vaart's injury, Maddison's injury? What have we learned from the players that have come in?
I think we've got a hugely good team ethos. Yeah. Everyone seems to be on everyone else's side.
Yeah, we definitely think we've got great team ethic. There seems to be a good core of players. But I'm with David. I think we could definitely do with some, at least one extra centre-back coming in. But who? Chalobah's injured. We've been linked to him. Lloyd Kelly is injured. He's got a hamstring injury. He's going to be out till February.
Is he the Bournemouth lad?
He's the Bournemouth lad. Do we spend 50 million on Mark Gay, or do we try and spend the money elsewhere?
Is Paratici still working as a consultant?
Yes.
Apparently. Oh, good.
Then it looks like it.
Then I think we'll be fine.
Well, I think Johan Langer is the one who's pushing the recruitment of the central defence. He certainly talked a lot recently in the press about what they're doing to bring in a new central defender for Ange in January.
No, I mean, I don't want to do down what Emerson and what Davis have done over the last couple of matches. Their second choice fullbacks playing as first choice centre backs. It's really courageous, and hats off to both of them. Even if Emerson was like really shaky for a lot of the match, never mind. They went out and they did it, and well done to them. But it's not a long-term solution. We need backup for Romero and for Van der Ven.
Yeah, I've got my own part on that. It's like, follow exactly everything you said. Well done, congratulations. But I'm glad that little experiment is now going to be over. We don't have to do that again for quite some time, hopefully.
Well,
yeah.
Romero's a walking red card, so it might be one more match and then get back.
Quick switch to Romero. Did anybody see his quote after they played Brazil recently?
No.
He came out and he said, the game was a bit too easy for me. I decided that to liven things up, I'd give the ball to Casemiro so I could tackle him.
I love it.
He's great. I love it. He's fantastic. Yeah. I was one of those at the end of last season going, can we afford a player who's going to get sent off this much, who can be a little bit out of it at times? But this year he's been a fantastic player, and there's no doubt he should be one of the first names on the team sheet for me. Straight after suspension, back in. You're back in, Cutie. You're in.
But you're totally right. I agree with you all. But in harsh reality, him going off against Chelsea put us in that tailspin. It did, because we didn't have backup, and then Van der Ven, of course, going off. But that one play actually put us in that 3-game tailspin.
Really, and there was the kick out, the Beckham style kick out 5 minutes before as well. He could have gone off before then. He lost his head. We lost our head. Because the referee wasn't protecting us. By the way,
agreed.
Yes, that was a game where there were 3 or 4 or even 5 fouls against us in the first half.
Absolutely,
they should all have been punished, and they weren't. They weren't even given.
Yeah,
but we've got to learn to keep our heads, because Romero really lost his head, but a few other players did as well. We were getting close to another battle of the bridge. It's no good.
The tussle at the Tottenham Stadium, I called it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. On that, I think we've still got a very young side. I mean, majority of our starters are under the age of 25. So, there's still a lot of maturing for those players to do. I think when players like Bentancur come back in, when Maddison comes back, we're gonna have a little bit more of age. We're gonna have a little bit more experience, a little bit more maturity back out on the pitch, and it'll be good to see. And hopefully that will work for us.
Can I just say something about our purchasing? I think our purchasing in the last 2 years has been absolutely sensational. Kulusevski, Bentancur, Ramiro, Van der Ven, Johnson. I mean,
Udogie.
Udogie.
Yeah, Udogie's
I mean,
just
bloody hell, they're fantastic.
Porro.
Yeah, that's
Porro
why
as
I was
well.
that's why I was
Porro.
asking. Yeah, Porro too. Yeah, that's why I was asking if Paratici's going to be sticking around, because he got 80% of the rebuild done absolutely fantastically well. You know, really amazing.
Yeah, his record has been pretty solid. Certainly when it comes to buying players for the future, we've brought in players and given them a chance to stay at their own clubs, and I thought that's something that we'd be looking to do every season. I was a bit disappointed we didn't do it over the summer. We were linked to a few youngsters, and maybe we're going to be keeping our eyes open for that in the future. And maybe it's a sign that Paratici's influence on the club is not quite as strong as it once was. But I think it was a really, really masterful move to let Pape Matar stay in France for another season.
Sar's another one. What a buy he's been.
Yeah,
he's
let
great
Udogie stay in Italy for another season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been pretty faultless, I think, our purchasing over the last year or so.
Richarlison has been a disappointment.
Yeah, he was a Conte signing, wasn't he? He was the one Conte really pushed for him by the sound of it.
I no idea.
He might still come good, but I'm starting to lose hope a little bit, to be honest. But I really want him to. I really want all of them to succeed. But you know,
I still hope
Richarlison will succeed.
If you judge Richarlison on the basis of him being an elite left winger, his numbers aren't too bad. His influence isn't too bad. If you judge him as a striker, it's not quite so good. But you know,
his work rate's excellent. As a player, as a man who's committed to the cause, he's very good. But I still remain disappointed in the overall performance.
Agreed. Yeah. Also, he seems like a good man, and I like that.
We've got a lot of good people in the club, though, at the moment.
Yeah.
They seem like decent lads.
Yeah.
Except for Ramiro, who's
but he's the right sort of.
He's our kind of absolutely. I'm going to be doing some bleeping tonight.
Why is that, Stuart?
Why is that? Oh, just because there are some children that listen. So you know, we'll I don't mind the swearing. I'm very happy. You know, we're all adults here. It is a man's game after all, as they say, and part of that involves swearing. If you've ever played football,
you're going to have to bleep that.
Right, it is.
Yeah. Well, it's becoming more cosmopolitan, more everything, but I still think if you've played football down the park, you're not going to shy away from a bit of industrial language.
No, absolutely not.
And anyone who's watched any women's football will also know that they don't hold back from swearing on the pitch either. So
when I moved to London, my first game was Spurs versus Millwall at the Old Den, 1989, and I went down for Deptford, and I'd never, I was new to London. I'd never lived in London. I didn't know London, so I went as an innocent abroad.
Millwall sounds nice.
The language from the females at Millwall was absolutely industrial. I was gobsmacked, it has to be said.
I used to live in New Cross, just really, really near the Millwall ground.
Absolutely.
Match days were interesting.
Understatement.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? We got a bunch of games coming up. Where do we go from here?
Well, we've got West Ham Thursday, Newcastle Sunday. I think Everton's shortly after that as well. Definitely got 2 winnable games after that. West Ham, I think we win. Newcastle, very, very difficult prospect. They're a good side, playing some very, very good football and well organised as well.
Yeah, they are.
So that'll be a tough team.
He's got them playing well.
Yeah.
But I'm giving up. I'm giving up
what's
on
happening with Dele Alli at Everton now.
Not playing, is he?
Still trying to get back to fitness. He had another fitness issue, didn't he? He was getting back towards
he was addicted
match
to
fitness.
sleeping tablets.
Yeah. But then he was working his way back to being fit to play.
Right.
And then he had another injury.
Oh, did he?
About a month and a half ago. So he's probably getting close to being selectable again soon, I expect.
No, they won't play him, will they? because if he plays another 6 times, they've got to pay us 10 million or something, and then they don't want to do that.
They haven't got 10 million. Yeah,
they haven't got 10 million. They're completely brassic. Yeah.
Send it
bring
back
him,
to us.
bring him home.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe we should just say, look, knock 10 mil off the price for Branthwaite, and we'll be fine. Yeah, because he's a centre back that we could do a nice little job for us. Left-footed,
Yeah,
pacey.
absolutely.
Can I just ask one more question before we wrap up? Totally, because we're talking about Everton, it's reminded me. Do you think we're going to get dock points for the Defoe thing?
No, I don't think so. They've said, the FA have said they'll look into it, but apparently they've looked into it before and didn't find anything actionable. So, I think they're looking into it again with some new evidence, but it was that long ago, completely different managers. It's been a whole changeover of everything.
Yeah.
So I know Luton got done for it, got some points taken off and stuff before.
I think we'll get points.
You think we'll get points taken off?
Yeah, I think we'll get points taken off.
Well, I think if we get points taken off, then the deductions for Chelsea and Manchester City are going to be mind-blowing. So
deductions won't be enough. There has to be more deductions for them.
Well, my thing, as I said, somebody said, "What would you do?" And I said, "Well, they've made a precedent. It's 10 points for every infraction. They've got 115 infractions, so that's 1,150 points to be deducted. For every 70 points that you deduct, you relegate them a league, because any team that finishes minus 70 points is not staying up." So
I think it has to go further than just points deduction. Doesn't matter.
No, that's basically knocking them out of the complete league pyramid. They have to go down to almost Sunday league to start again. So
it's not enough. Not enough. They stole titles. They have to give the titles back.
We could end up with the title
as well. Yeah,
strip the titles.
We could end up with the Premiership.
Yeah, we could. Well, as my son pointed out, he's against it because that would give Arsenal a title.
True.
But to be honest, I hate Manchester City more than I hate Arsenal, because I have intense feelings of rivalry for Arsenal, but I hate what Manchester City are doing to football. I hate what Chelsea have done to football.
Yeah,
it's much more important to me, that is.
Yeah, I think Chelsea started it, and that's why I dislike Chelsea more than I dislike Manchester City. And they seem to have got away with it.
And also Chelsea fans are beep.
Yeah.
Whereas Manchester City fans, apart from the recent fans, they're all right.
Yeah, like established Manchester City fans longer than before the oil money came in. Yeah, they're fine.
And I have to say, to watch football, I actually quite enjoy watching Manchester City, but I never ever enjoy watching Chelsea.
Yeah. Under Mourinho, I remember Chelsea were just like a really expensive Bolton.
Who was the Brazilian manager there? The ex-Brazil team, Phil Scolari. He had them playing.
Big Phil.
He had them playing some good stuff, and then they sacked him.
He did.
So I was like, okay, you don't want good stuff. Okay, fine. Sack the man. I don't care. Yeah. All right, I think that's going to be it for tonight. Yeah. Thank you everybody for coming. We're going to decide what we're going to do, because I'm not sure whether we do one combined one for the West Ham and the Newcastle games, or whether we do the day after, as we're now going to be doing. But I shall consult with the team that's around, and we'll see where we go. Until then, everybody, thank you for joining us. As I said before, please like, subscribe, join us again, leave us comments below, and until then, come on, you Spurs.